everyone, welcome back to another session of conservation of plants and animals. All right, we'll be moving forward to whatever topics we'll be doing today. Although I have told you already whatever topics will be carried forward or will be completed into the upcoming sessions in the previous session itself when we were just briefing out on whatever topics will be covered in the chapter. Now, see, these will be the topics covered in this particular session. Now, I know these might seem like a lot, but I promise you these are like super, super easy, super duper easy. Okay. And most of the, like, since you already know, this chapter is a generalized chapter. So, most of the topics you had been learning for a longer period of time coming through different classes, right, during your school years. So, we'll be moving forward and getting ahead to the first topic itself. Now, first thing that we are going to discuss is the threatened species. Important thing for you is that threatened species are the ones which are kind of endangered and which are vulnerable to the extinction or the endangerment in the future. Okay, for example, let's say these are the species which could be on the brink of extinction in the later on years to come, right? So the keywords that you'll have to remember in these, okay, there will be multiple type of definitions coming up. Okay, so what you'll have to learn is the keywords, and remember that these keywords are the ones which are the fine lines between all of these different kind of terminologies. Rest these terminologies are interrelated very much, so you'll have to memorize the keywords. For example, if we're talking about the threatened species, we basically are talking about how the threatened species are the species which are vulnerable to the endangerment in the future. Endangerment, okay? Endangered species are the ones which could be extinct in the near future, but the threatened are the ones which could be endangered in the near future. Okay, so it's like one step away from the extinction. Okay, now, see, species which are threatened sometimes could be characterized by multiple things. Okay, for example, there could be a mathematical measure, there could be population growth rate, there could be a critical dispensation. All of these methods are the different kind of methods which are used for the sake of calculating if a species is threatened or not. Okay, or if a species is going to be threatened in the near future or not. Okay, now you won't have to bother with these kind of species, with these kind of population dynamics, but what you need to know right here is that the threatened species could be vulnerable of being the endangered in near future. For example, we have the koala bear right here. Okay, we have the monkey right here, and we have the golden frog right here. Okay, these might sound up like made up name that, but these are actual names. All right, now moving forward, we have the extinct species. You guys are very well aware of what extinct species are. The species which are no longer present on Earth planet, or the species which are, let's say, wiped off from the surface of Earth, are the extinct species. Those are the organisms which can no longer be found in an alive state on this planet. Okay, so we have the mammoth, which was present in like the ice age. We have the saber-toothed tiger, which was also present in the ice age. Then we have the Gleptogon dodo bird, and we have the Tasmanian tiger. And the recent one was the white rhinoceros. White rhinoceros. Okay, that is also the recently extinct species. And I think there's only one albino giraffe which is present right now, which can also be extinct in the near future after it's dead. So the moment of extinction is the one which is generally considered to the death of the last individual. Okay, last individual is whenever the last individual of any particular species dies, that is when the extinction of a species is considered. Okay, although the capacity of breed or recovering may have been lost at this particular time. Okay, listen to me very, very carefully. If we're talking about the last individual, and if the last individual is not a female but a male of that particular species, and if the male is dead, there is no point. That species cannot be recovered, or there could be no reproduction of that species. And we human beings are not at the era or not at the advancement in the technology and science that we can, create a Jurassic Park like world, right? We cannot just do that right now with the help of the stem cells. We are moving forward towards it, but right now the extinction species are remaining extinct. Okay, next thing that we are going to learn is the endangered species. Remember, I just discussed about the endangered species one slide ago, 2 slides ago basically. So there are multiple most endangered species which are vulnerable for or vulnerable to extinction. Extinction. Okay, endangered species are present in like really less amount. So we have the giant panda, we have the tiger, whooping crane, blue whale, Asian elephant, gorilla. Important thing is that these are the scientific names, and whenever the scientific names are typed, they should be typed in the italics, and whenever they are written, they should always be underlined. So this is what am I doing right now. Okay, guys, again I'm telling you this thing, you have to learn the keywords. Okay, you have to learn the keywords. For example, when we were talking about the threatened species, you directly link it to the vulnerable to the endangerment in the near future. If you're talking about the extinct species, the last individual has died and there is no scope of recovering or reproduction. And when we are talking about the endangered species, that means the species which are vulnerable or which are at the risk of the extinction, or which are vulnerable to the extinction. Okay, this is what the endangered species are. Most important thing for this particular chapter is the more you know the better. Okay, so try and learn more and more examples along the lines. Next thing, okay, also the Rio, if you have watched the movie Rio, it's a cartoon animated movie. So the Rio parrot couple is officially extinct. These are the blue, the picture that you're seeing right here, these are the multicolored and blue is the prominent color of these parrots. They are officially extinct. Now, moving forward, we have the endemic species. In the previous session, I did tell you about the endemic species. These are the species which are found in a particular geographic region, and that's it, and nowhere else in the world. Okay, these are just found in one particular region and nowhere else in the world. Just go ahead with the keyword. The keyword for the endemic species is the particular geographical region. Okay, they're just found in the particular geographic region and nowhere else. Okay, now see, these species which are endemic to a continent, these could be endemic to an island, these could be endemic to a particular biosphere reserve or a national park, etc., etc. For example, kangaroos are endemic species only in the Australia. They're not found anywhere else, right? Same goes for the lemurs of the Madagascar. This is the lemur of the Madagascar. Okay, the tortoise of the Galapagos Island. Okay, or the finches of Galapagos Island. Well, finches of the Galapagos Island are no longer the endemic species because since these are birds, they can, just kind of migrate. So just not don't consider this one. But earlier they were. Okay, moving to the lemur of the endemic species. If you guys have watched the animated movie Madagascar, this is one of the most interesting characters in this, and you can learn a more like you can learn a lot from that movie about the different kind of animals, and it's pretty good for the kids. Okay, so if you get time, go ahead and watch it. And next thing we have is the vulnerable species. Vulnerable species are the ones which are likely to become endangered unless the circumstances are threatening to its survival and the reproduction. For example, if I tell you that the vulnerable species, most common example is the panda. Okay, so panda was a vulnerable species. It is not anymore because China's efforts to, breed the pandas has been very fruitful. Okay, and that basically kind of led to the increase in the population of a lot of pandas. You can find these onto the YouTube. You can see how beautiful or cute these creatures are. So that is one example of the vulnerable species. Apart from that, these are characterized by the IUC. Okay, it is very important for you to learn this terminology, this acronym. Okay, IUC is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. IUCN, sorry, IUCN, International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Okay, most of the decisions related to these different kind of vulnerable species, endangered or extinction species, are made by this particular organization. Okay, Also, for the vulnerable species, you'll have to see the main cause is the habitat loss or the destruction. Okay, for example, the penguins right here, or the koala bears. Koala bears, you must have heard about the fires which happened in the early 2020s, okay, or the late 2020s for that matter as well. Not late, but mid 2020s and early 2020s. So that led to the destruction of the koala bears entire habitat, which led to the decrease in the population simultaneously, right? Being said that, we'll move to the red data book. Okay, red data book is the most important book, and you'll be definitely asked about this book. Okay, so just prepare yourself for the question from this particular topic. Red data book is the one document which is also given by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, that is the ICUN, and this documents everything ranging from the endangered species to rare species which are found, and of all the organisms on the planet. It could be having the names of the plants, animals, fungi, algae for that matter. Okay, so this is the red data book. Now the misconception which people have with the red data book is that it has the name of the extinct species as well. That is incorrect. Okay, Red Data book does not have the name of the extinct species. It takes in notes the species which are rare and endangered. Okay, so take in note of that. Next, we have the strategies for the wildlife conservation. It is very important for you guys to understand that there are multiple strategies, including the national park, biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuaries, which are the initiatives taken by the governments of different nations, including India. But there are several things which we can do by ourselves. Okay, for example, we have the adaptation. Wild animals can be adopted. They could be adopted while living in their habitat. Okay, you won't have to bring them to your house. They can be adopted while living in the habitat, and you can still provide for them. You can still provide for the maintenance of their food, their habitat, etc. And there's an option for everyone, and I think it's a very beautiful initiative to help the other creatures, or help the help the other species on this planet to coexist. Apart from that, the volunteering thing, if you do not have any money, you can always volunteer in the national parks or the wildlife sanctuaries or the biosphere reserves to help. Okay, you can help in cleaning the forest, you can help in taking a note of the species or the number of individuals of a particular species, right? You can always help the forest guards or the forest authorities with that. Okay, there's always a program, and there's always an internship program as well, which can get you into really good organizations or institutions for the sake of your own education as well, right? So you can go ahead with that, and it benefits both ways. Next is the visit. More you visit the wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, aquariums, zoos, more the money will be provided to those particular establishments, and more they'll be able to provide for the animals. They'll be able to adopt and take more animals, more refuge animals into them, okay, with them, which can help in creating a beautiful environment, and which can help in saving lives of those particular creatures. Next thing is the donate whatever you can. Okay, the food, time, money, and you do not donate clothes to the animals. Keep that thing in mind. Or you can donate a lot of plants as well, for the sake of mass planting of a forest and stuff. And next is the speak up. Speak up. This basically is very much important step. This is the most important step. Okay, you'll have to spread awareness by speak up. I do not want you to go ahead and fight with the people like, okay, stop cutting trees, why are you using paper. No, just go ahead and spread awareness among people. Try and convince them, try and make them see what are the dire consequences that future holds for us if we continue on to this particular path. Okay, try and help them understand the logic of the wildlife conservation, okay, of not wasting the energies, of not wasting the resources, of not destroying the habitat, of helping the other species coexist, of helping the keeping the environment and the nature clean. right? That is one thing, and I'm pretty sure you guys are well aware and well endowed for doing that. Next thing is the wildlife sanctuaries. Now I know we did the wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and national parks in the previous session as well, but we'll have to do them in the details right here. Also, as I said in the previous session, you'll have to learn more and more examples for that. Okay, so we basically have the wildlife sanctuaries where the animals have their habitats and their surroundings are protected, okay, from any sort of disturbances. Next thing, the capturing, killing, poaching of the animals is strictly prohibited. It is strictly prohibited in all the areas, but you'll have to mention it, okay? So it's an important point for the exam point of view as well. Next thing, they provide to aim the comfortable living to the animals in the wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, it's very important for you to understand the concept of these things. Okay, so the wildlife sanctuaries are the places which basically help in providing the animals live in a better way. Okay, and the wildlife sanctuary basically let's say is established on a place which encircles the natural habitat of the particular organism. Okay, and it wildlife sanctuary is designated for the protection of certain species of animals and birds, and that is why the area which is acquired is the natural habitat of those animals and birds. Okay, so that being said, we'll be moving forward and you'll have to learn a lot of examples. I did mention a lot of examples in the previous session as well. And if you want, I can mention it in this session as well. Okay. So we have the Nahar Wildlife Sanctuary, Asola Wildlife Sanctuary. We have the Khaparwas Wildlife Sanctuaries. There are like n number of wildlife sanctuaries. Okay. Next to that, we have the biosphere reserves and their role. Biosphere reserves are the area which can have the terrestrial area, coastal ecosystems, okay, and everything which helps in the saving the lives of the animals. Also, the biosphere reserves are also helpful, like they're very very helpful in studying the animal in its natural habitat. And if we study the animal in the natural habitat, that is why we are calling them living laboratories, because the animals are present in their natural environment. We can study more about their behavior, we can study more about their predatory habits or the running habits or food habits, mating habits, you know, the entire let's say routine of the day kind of thing, etc etc, and more about their lifespan, which kind of is going to help us in the future in the manner of conserving, or in the path of conserving these species. Okay, now see, these biosphere reserve the preserve the wild population, which is like the most important part you should learn. Okay, and they also help in the saving the wildlife, sorry, the lifestyle of the tribals. Okay, I did explain it in the previous session as well. And they're the genetic resources of the domesticated plants and animals. Now, what is the genetic resource? It's very important for you to understand that the entire world, or let's say all the countries, they kind of keep the record of the DNA, or they keep the DNA material of all these species in one manner or another. And these biosphere reserves, they help in the collection of the DNA or the genetic material of the different species for the sake of future studies, for the sake of conservation. Okay, it also helps in the conservation, it helps in this economic development. Okay, people visit the biosphere reserve sometimes, although it's not as much let's say it's not as much allowed for the, like, from the government. So economic development is basically in the terms of, you know, conserving a lot of tribal people and the wildlife. Apart from that, the forest produces the fruits, the fire logs, the different kind of plants, the exotic plants, all of those are also used by the government. So that way it helps in the economic development. Next thing is the scientific research. I just explained the genetic resources and scientific research and the living laboratory parts. Just arrange that. And monitoring and education in the terms that we can learn more about those animals. That's it all, like that's all for today. Next we have is the questions. Okay, this time I'm not going to show you the answer. Okay, this time I'm just going to show you the question. So the process which is undertaken by the plants for preparing their own food, I mean, come on, easiest question of the century: photosynthesis. Am I right? Yes. Next thing is question, increase in the amount of carbon dioxide can result in winter season? No, because dioxide entraps the heat of Earth. Rainfall? No. Global warming? I think so, right? All of these? No way. So the answer is global warming. And that's it all for today. I'm so happy to have shared my time with you people. Keep learning, and we'll meet again in the next session with more of the topics to be covered. See ya. Take care.